Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a good time, a good week. I'm hoping things are getting better for you. I really do. I wanted to talk about the fact that people might not believe you. This is a really hard subject, this one, because you would think that if it's happening to you and you're remembering it, that people would believe you, but a lot of people might not believe you, and I want you to get your head around that. When you first remember, or even when you first decide you're going to deal with it, you've remembered perhaps, but you didn't bring it up, but now it's coming up and you're going to bring it up, you can have awful trouble with other people. I want you to stick to your guns. You were there, you know what happened, you know what the truth is. And the way I used to do it is I just thought to myself, I'm standing here, and I see myself standing, and I'm standing in the truth. This is the truth. And it doesn't really matter what anyone else says, because I'm standing in the truth, because I know what the truth is. And I think you need to get very strong with this. People do not want to hear that dad abused you, or the stepdad, or the uncle. They do not want to hear that in your marriage the person was abusive because the person they kept meeting at the dinner party was so nice. He was such a lovely guy. They don't want to hear it. And part of them not wanting to hear it is to shut you down. And I want you just to be aware of that you don't respond too much to it. It's their stuff. They just can't deal with it, basically. You're standing there having to deal with all this crap, and they're saying to you they can't deal with it, that you've made it up. I had this problem as soon as mine came up. I was 42, it came up. Sort of almost incidentally. I didn't sort of do it on purpose. It kind of, the way things in my family came up. And I got accused of lying, and people didn't believe me, and it split up my family because they wouldn't believe me. And then their friends who I'd known since I was a child, they didn't believe me either. And in the end, the only way I could cope was to know that I knew what the truth was. He knew what the truth was, and a few other people, I think. And they just decided they were going to make up like you were lying. So be very, very aware of this. And that's why it's important to work out who to tell and who to talk to. It's no good going and trying to defend yourself with people. It's not their life. It wasn't their abuse. It wasn't their recovery now. You just need to be aware of not everyone believing you. I was kind of shocked because I'm kind of a truthful person. I don't lie. So I was actually really surprised when people didn't actually believe me. But then I realised they couldn't actually believe me, because that would mean they'd have to change the image of, in my case, my dad. And they didn't want to do that because they were going to have him over for dinner on Saturday night. You know, for them it wasn't going to work. The most important thing is that you do find a few people who do believe you, and you can have them to support you through the process and always be by your side. And you can trust them. And the ones who don't believe you, just stop talking to them about it. You know, if they're within a family, just shut the subject down. Say, look, we've got different ideas of it. Let's not talk about it. And ask them if they want a cup of tea, because they're not going to change. People hold on to the image that they have of other people, and they almost don't want to be wrong, because if you tell them something negative like this, then that means that they weren't a good judge of character in their opinion. Not that that's actually true, because abusers are very manipulative and very good at selling themselves and going out there and doing their act. You know, they're actors, basically. They act a certain way. It's not who they really are. And if other people get conned, it's actually the abuser's fault, not the person who got conned, because they didn't see the other one. You did. I did. We saw the other one. Not being believed is very, very difficult. I think you will find, if you've had childhood abuse, you probably tried to tell someone. Could have been your mum or dad, or could have been someone else, or someone at school, and no one took you seriously. And you learned after a while not to say anything, perhaps, because people didn't believe you. And that's interesting when you talk to someone who's been abused. One of the things that strikes me whenever I've spoken to people like with childhood is that they always comment on that they told their mum, they told the teacher, they told this person, they got into trouble. How dare you speak about your blah blah like that? And you might have had that as well. There's like a wall that comes up where you're not believed. That's their stuff. Just remember that that's their stuff. They're holding on to the image and they won't go to reality. This feeling, though, of not being believed by other people can actually permeate into other parts of your life. So be aware of that if you come out of a history of abuse, and just make sure that you always speak your truth, tell your truth, but don't harp on and go on about it. Once you've realised the wall's gone up or the door's shutting, forget it. They will just stick to their opinion, and unless something changes in their world around it, they will stay like that. I found that I was open with some people just to find that they just basically shut me out afterwards. We were no longer friends, or they weren't friends of the family now with me. They took sides, and I just had to put up with that. But at the end of the day, I knew that something would happen, or they'd find out somewhere. And I always knew now that it happened. They just didn't want to be there. And you need to be really aware of this, because it's going to make a big difference in your life. I expected at the beginning that people would actually just believe me, because I had a little bit of disbelief myself. You will have that as well. And like, I know that happened. I can remember it now, but there's another part of you going, oh no, I don't want to believe that. You know that idea, but you know in your heart, and you can feel it. And so when I taught and told other people, I just automatically expected them to believe me. Like, that would just, because I don't lie, so why would I make that up? And it's made such a hash of my life now, and such a mess in my family, because I remembered everything and started to deal with it. Why would I even do that, if it was rubbish? I'm not really a crazy person, I tell myself. You just need to be aware of it and let them go. Okay? Let it go. Be with yourself and find people who support you in your belief system, because there are people who will believe it. And I actually found in my situation, in my two areas, that people actually verified afterwards that they had a similar feeling about that person, or they never felt safe around them, or they thought they were a bit dodgy, but they didn't want to say something because, I was with that person at that stage. You will actually get verification from some people which verifies what your belief is, and they'll believe you because they actually picked up on it. Some people are very, very intuitive. They'll get a gut feeling about somebody, and it doesn't matter how much they act like the Mr. Wonderful, Miss Wonderful, and how charming they are and how much wine they bring to the party. It doesn't really change how they really feel about it. People might even step away from you too, so be aware of that. They might believe you but don't want to deal with it, and they'll step away from you. The most important thing is that it's inside you. You see the pictures, the feelings, it happened, and that's all that really matters in the end. And then those few little people around you to support you. And that's where going to a counsellor or a psychologist or someone like that is good too, because they're not going to not believe you. They know you've turned up for a reason, and they've got no agenda. They don't know the person. They've got no allegiance. So they're more likely to help you through the process, because they believe that you've actually been through this situation, and that's really important for you. This part is just really important, that you trust yourself and that you can work your way through it and heal from it and believe yourself, and hopefully have a life that is now real and based in the truth. So I'm wishing you lots of love and light.